profit number, in fact, has come in around 525 crores. Our poll had thrown out a number of around 572 crores approximately. So that's a big miss if you look at it just on the bottom line. That's the only number that we have at this point of time. That's a miss of close to roughly around 8 to 9% on the bottom line itself. I'm just waiting by for more numbers. On the top line itself, we were estimating a number of around 3,300 crores approximately. So we're waiting by for that particular number as well. And that compares with the reading of around 3,341 crores. So that's the only number that's flashing for you on the screen. The margins as well expected to come in at around 26.6%.
I can give you the total income number. 3150 is what they've done versus a poll of 3296. So again, that's a miss. We've already got Ekta in, so let's get first reactions from her. Ekta, looks like a miss?
Yes, well, it does definitely look like a little bit of a miss. You guys spoke about the profit figures, so that's actually definitely coming at a miss. If you compare it on a sequential basis as well, 525 crores compares to 547 crores that they did the last quarter. And that's important because same quarter last year there was a huge base that they had recorded. So that's the reason why your a Q&Q comparison is important as well. I think we have Mayuresh Joshi of Angel Broking joining in on the phone line to talk about Lupin's numbers. Mayuresh, thanks for joining in. Your first take in terms of the Lupin numbers. The consolidated EBITDA is coming at 816 crores versus our estimate of 878 crores with a margin of 26%. So I think there's a lower revenue that we're working with in terms of the top line. Which one did you mentioned 3,100?
Yeah, that's the 3150 is the top line.
So there's a miss a miss across the board for Lupin, but they've managed to maintain margins despite a lower top line. Your sense in terms of the numbers this time?
Afternoon, I think clearly, as per our estimates, it's been quite a miss. I think our numbers were a little bit on the optimistic side. Our top line was close to 3,500 to 3,550 odd crores. We were working with EBITDA margins of...
you were working with a revenue figure of 3,500 crores this quarter?
Yes, yes. And again, I think we were working on EBITDA margins of 27%. That effectively translates into a profitability figure of close to 700. So I think even if you go by the consensus estimates, as I see on your channel, I think it's been a miss on that front as well. But clearly, I think the margins last year probably were because of the higher base. And again, I think the US branded business would have got impacted because of the generic entry that you probably witnessed in Suprex. So I think you need to see the finer details, but the indication is probability that the US branded business is not a big hit. And again, I think the change in product mix might have compress the EBITDA margins to 20%.
I just want to give in some additional details, Ekta, so that you can chew over them and then take the questions forward. In terms of the overall numbers, there doesn't seem to be anything out of the ordinary which could have prompted this kind of a miss. Because if I'm looking at tax expenses, for instance, for this quarter, it's 2. The number stands at.
Well, it's not really. The point with Lupin is that the same quarter last year was a very good quarter for them. They had the revenues which were jumping 35%. They had the EBITDA which came in over 30%. So the same quarter last year came on a very high exceptional quarter for them. So this disappointment was expected. The extent of the disappointment is what is actually making the stock react under pressure. Also, they had a lack of US approvals that came through this quarter, which all of the companies have been suffering from this quarter. But we have to wait for the breakup in terms of the geographical numbers for Lupin, because that would be equally important in terms of what they did in the US business, what they've done in other segments as well. In fact, we have another analyst joining in. We have Vivek Kumar of SBICAP joining in. Vivek, take on Lupin's numbers. It looks quite disappointing.
Yeah, the numbers are weaker than the expectation, that's for sure. The large part of the disappointment has come from the US business. I see that the reported sales have been about $175 to $180 million.
And what was your estimate?
The estimates was close to $220 million, around that. So I think there's a big miss of about 20-25% out there.
Okay. Because last quarter they did $211 million in the US as well. So that's significantly come down. But why exactly has the US been such a big miss?
No, I think if you see, there's not a quite good number of launches that they would have done, except for the one which is Export SAT. I think, barring that, I think they had some few approvals, but they have launched about 1 or 2 couple of products. And if you see YOY, they had some good launches last year. So you cannot compare YOY then, because that base was very high. So I think it does make sense that the numbers were supposed to be flattish to weak QOQ, but then to such an extent, weakness would definitely warrant a warrant some kind of a drag that something in the base portfolio there must be some kind of a price erosion that they would have seen.
Okay. In fact, the other income is important because this time round, the other income has supported the profit, something similar with what we saw with Bajaj Auto. 75.58 crores versus 28.91 crores year on year is what they've recorded. So if it wasn't for that higher other income element also, maybe the profit would have been lower than what has already been reported for Lupin. But Vivek, I want to tie this in with the exclusive that CNBC TV18 has been reporting with regards to Lupin's Goa plant, and there could be 9 observations post a US FDA inspection that took place. Your sense in terms of whether those observations do become a little critical for Lupin?
I'm not so much aware about that because there's no official communication from the company side that they have done on the Goa plant. But I think that's what, but the media has been reporting it. But what I understand is that there are a good number of filings that they have done from the Goa, and Goa is supposed to be one of the bigger facilities for them, except for Mandideep and Pitampura. And if you look for some of the top products, for Lupin, let's say for talking about top 3 products, which could be Cymbalta, Neasprin, all including, should be about 25 to 30% of the total $900 million sales that they would have done in the last year.
Okay,
so,
we just have the breakup also in terms of geographies now, which is important. The US, including IP, was down 26%. Europe was okay, it was up 21%. India was okay, it was up 16%. Japan was down 5%, but that was expected because of the currency. South Africa down 6%, and rest of the world up around 44%, with API up 11%. So the saw point seems to definitely have been the US markets this quarter. So that's basically summing up the numbers. We have a comment from Nilesh Gupta, the MD of Lupin also, which should flash up on your screen, where he has said that the slowdown in approvals in the US has dampened growth during the quarter. That's one of the statements that he's made. But Vivek, sum up the numbers for us finally. What was the biggest disappointment in Lupin's numbers? What was the biggest positive? And would your rating on the stock change at all?
So I definitely see the numbers have been quite weak, and the miss has been largely coming from the U.S. markets. So I see that the downgrades and the numbers is definitely warranted. But second thing, which is almost very important to look into, is that the asking rate for the upcoming quarter is going to be much higher. So whether the analysts would like to revisit it right now, or would like to stick with estimates, because second half is supposed to be the best as far as the company has guided for, but we still are not so hopeful that the so much of the ANDA approvals would follow on to the second half. So I think there's too much to expect from the second half numbers. So possibly I think people would like to take a downgrade numbers right now, or they would like to wait for. So I think the downgrade is definitely warranted for that in terms of the EPS numbers.
Okay, Vivek, we'll wrap it up on that note. Thanks very much for joining in. So that's Lupin down around close to 6% post numbers. Let's toss it across to closing bell now.